And I just turned around and I hauled ass out of there. I was done. I wasn't dealing with that.
The hypocrisy of the cult is one of the things that turned me away the quickest.
When I turned my headlights on, it turned and looked at us. And one of the things I remember the most were the eyes were glowing red.
I see an orb of light. It is just circling these steps like it is waiting for me.
And he begins to tell them that he saw a UFO. They're basically like, what are you talking about? That's 7 foot up on a tree, peeking around it. And that's where I saw the top of the muzzle, nose, and the eyes. As soon as I made eye contact with this thing, it felt like death.
Welcome back to Tinfoil Tells. I'm your host, Brandon Wright. Tonight's episode, we're going to be joined by Jennifer. Jennifer is the founder of Eclipse Paranormal. She's also the Region 2 director of the North American Dogman Project. She reached out to me a couple months ago. We got something scheduled. Been looking forward to talking with her. But before we bring her on, if you've ever had an experience and you'd like to be on an episode of Tinfoil Tells, you can send an email to tinfoiltellspodcast@gmail.com, or you can go to tinfoiltells.com, go to the contact section. You can reach me that way too. Either way works for me, so just do what you got to do and we'll get something scheduled. If you want to help the podcast grow, please share it around. Word of mouth is the best way to help get the podcast out there to new listeners. And every time there's a new listener, there's a chance of a new person coming on here to share their experiences. You can also leave a 5-star review wherever you listen to Tinfoil Tells at. If you're on the YouTube channel, make sure to like and subscribe. Hit the bell notification so you don't ever miss out on a new episode of Tinfoil Tells. You want to help the podcast financially, you can join the Patreon. You get access to all the episodes with no ads. You also get early access to all the episodes once they're finished being recorded and edited. They will be placed on the Patreon. You'll get live videos from when I do interviews with people and we actually use the video camera. There's also bonus content on there. Its own little episode strictly for the Patreon. It's only $1.99 a month, so less than $2 a month. And you get all that content. Make sure to follow us on all the social medias, Facebook, X, Instagram. Find me on Facebook. It's Brandon Tinfoil Tells. You can add me on there directly. You can talk to me that way too. I think now it's time to bring Jen on. Been looking forward to talking with her. Everyone should know at this point the Dogman is my bread and butter, so definitely want to dive into this. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. I'd like to take the time and welcome my guest tonight, Jen. Thanks for coming on here to talk to me.
Thanks for having me on.
A little bit about yourself.
I'm Jen Jacobs. I have been in the ghost hunting field professionally for over, oh my gosh, 12, 13 years now. So quite some time. I joined the NADP in 2016. And I have my own paranormal team here in Indiana. Eclipse Paranormal. We have an event company. And I also run the Region 2 Midwest chapter of the NADP. And we hold all kinds of conferences. But we can get into all that if you want.
For the audience listening, what is the NADP?
The North American Dogman Project.
Right up my alley. But yeah, when you reached out to me and I seen all that stuff, I was like, that's funny because I didn't even know we had one. I'm from Indiana, and I think that's where you're located from too. So it's kind of interesting because it piqued my interest just because of the whole Dogman thing. I was like, I didn't even know we even had one of those.
Yeah, I've held a couple public events, but there hasn't been a whole lot of people come. I had a little meet and greet, paranormal meet and greet up in Goshen at Expo Park. Oh, probably it was before COVID, 2018, something like that.
Yeah. No, I'd definitely check one out if there's something going on.
Now I'm actually working on the Michiana CryptidCon. Be the first Dogman Cryptid Conference in Northern Indiana that I'm aware of. I don't know. Somebody may have done one before and I just didn't know it.
Well, if that comes about, I would definitely be interested in that and being there just because
It's
it's literally my neck of the woods. I'm in North Central Indiana.
okay. We're probably neighbors and don't even know it.
I'm up here in Miami County.
We're not far. I live in Elkhart County.
My friend that I do another podcast with him. He's actually from Elkhart area, so it's kind of funny.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
we're doing a conspiracy themed podcast for the Patreon, and it's going to be him and I doing that one too. So it's kind of the other podcast we do is more music related, but this one, he was the first guest I ever had on this show, and then he was actually just on recently because up around Elkhart, he actually saw some weird, strange lights in the sky when he was out Ubering. Him and the passenger he picked up saw some like weird stuff going on in the sky.
I always miss the good stuff. I remember years ago there was a UFO around Ligonier. And of course, I lived in Fort Wayne at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I didn't even know about that up here in Elkhart.
Yeah, I'm actually, strangely if you mentioned Fort Wayne, on Tuesday, I'm going to be speaking in Fort Wayne at the UFO alien intelligence meeting at the
Oh, that's
library. And then they're having one here in Peru on the 23rd, Saturday the 23rd at the library here. They asked me,
oh,
they asked me to be the guest speakers. I was like, sure, why not?
I don't blame you.
I guess by the time this ends up airing, though, it'll be way past when it actually happened. So, but no, that I didn't even know they had these groups going on, but they just made up these UFO and UAP groups. I was like, piques my interest too.
It does mine too.
Well,
I just
new things to look into, I guess.
I just have one cryptid I don't mess with, and that's puckwudgies. Nope, I'm good. Those things scare me.
Well,
I
we had an interview with a guy from Massachusetts who's all about the puckwudgies just here recently. But
Mhm.
down in Anderson, Indiana, there is the Mountain State Park, and there's been rumors for years about puckwudgies there.
I've heard that too. And on the ghostly side, you can hear cannon fire down there too at night.
I've never been there at nighttime. I've been there a couple times during the day, but I've never stayed at night. I've never camped there.
I haven't either. I know some people who's been down there investigated at night, and they said that you can hear cannon fire
My
throughout
wife,
the.
my wife's family used to camp there. They had a camper they'd park out there, and they'd stay out there almost every weekend.
Oh,
But
yeah.
we
Come check them.
we visited a few times, but we never stayed.
I've not been there.
But yeah, you want to start from the beginning or wherever you want to dive into, it's all yours.
Well, I'm old, so back in the 70s, um, you didn't have a whole lot of internet back then, so anything I could get my hands on at the library, I would. Anything from Bermuda Triangle to Bigfoot to ghosts, anything. It was rare to find back then in the 70s, 80s, and then started becoming more prominent in the late 90s, especially after it was on TV. And my first experience was looking out my mom's bedroom window, and I saw something that I'm now told is an elemental staring back at me and smiled. And my mom told me that I was being mean and that was the devil watching me. So it didn't deter me from the paranormal. It just made me more intrigued. And I eventually ended up joining a team. It's always interested me. I've always known things. Like when my grandpa passed, I had told my mom, I said, no, I need to go see him tonight. And she's like, no, your younger cousin, it was my younger cousin. No, he's with us. He can't go upstairs to see him. And that was back in the 80s. So kids couldn't go up there then. And I said, no, I have to go see him. And he died the next morning. And just things like that have happened over the years. I know things, and I'm told I'm psychic, but I don't really like that word because I feel like a psychic reads people and gives them their future, and I can't do that. I refer to myself more as an empath or a seer. I have 4 of the 5 clairs. I'm trying to think of everything. My grandma on my dad's side, she saw and spoke to spirits. She knew things too. My mom's sister, she sees shadows and she hears things. So I kind of get it from both sides. And then I wrote my junior or senior final in English on Bigfoot. And in 2015, I met Jody Cook that founded the North American Dogman Project. And from then on, I've worked with them, ran my team, started an event company, and host 4 conferences annually. And next year, I plan to pick up 2 more. Plus, I have 3 kids, a single mom, and work 40 hours.
Yeah, I'm not a single parent, but we've got 4 kids and I work 40 plus hours and she works. So I try and do this here in my free time, which isn't very often.
You know,
But
they ask me, well, how in the world do you do it? I'm like, I have no idea. I just do.
yeah, I always schedule my stuff later in the evening because at that point the older kids go to bed. My younger ones are in bed except for the 2-year-old because he's a terrorizer and never wants to go to bed when you need him to.
The terrible twos.
Oh yeah, he's Mr. Attitude problem lately.
My 8-year-old's still like that. A boy.
It's definitely a boy thing. The 11-year-old's the same way.
That's funny.
But no, so you mentioned the Dogman Project and everything. Has there been any known like sightings or encounters here around Indiana that you're aware of?
Yes.
Yeah.
One of my coworkers, well, it's actually on a couple different podcasts over at Potato State. Oh, what's it called? Potato Creek State Park. I
Yeah.
always switch these words. There's been sightings. One of my coworkers was driving to his in-laws last summer. They had one of those really bad thunderstorms we had come through. Their house was brand new and a tree fell on it. It took several months to get it fixed past what it should. And they were staying up in North Liberty at their in-laws' house, and he was driving up there and he came to work the next day. He's like, I have to talk to you. I was like, okay. And he told me he was driving home after work and there was like fog in the area and he passed a spot and something stepped out that looked like it had mange, he said. I said, you didn't stop and go back? He said, nope, I just kept driving. And then he actually was telling me about an encounter him and his wife had in your neck of the woods down by Wabash, Nunnington. Is it 24 or 4? Is it 24? 14?
24 goes through there and
Yeah.
14 is just north of it.
Okay, so it was 14. Him and his wife had something alongside the road, and there was a handprint on their car. And his wife won't talk about it. She's like, nope, I didn't see anything, and they just kept driving. But he had told me about the podcast about Potato Creek. So I listened to those and I got to look checking around, and I guess there's been a lot of sightings over there. And the scary thing is they have a Boy Scout camp. And when I asked if I could hold the conference in the park, I was told, no, we don't hold those kind of events here.
There's a taboo
So
when it comes to certain things, I think. And
I I just said it was a conference. I didn't tell them what kind,
hmm,
but I
um,
thought it was kind of odd.
yeah, especially if they didn't even know what type of conference it would be.
Yeah. And then there's actually a family that migrates in May and October through the area I'm at in here in Indiana. I've seen a dog man. I've seen a Bigfoot outside of Goshen. Was driving to work. What? Let me think. Oh, my youngest was 2. So it's been several years ago. I was driving and something crossed the road in front of me, and I thought, why is that man wearing an all orange jumpsuit with a white hat on his head? And I stopped the car. Most people wouldn't, but me being me, I stopped the car and just looked, and I realized he was as tall as the do not pass signs that are yellow, the like sideways triangles.
Yeah.
He was as tall as that sign and walked into the cornfield. Corn was tall, so it was late. It was October. And it was all dried, but they hadn't picked it yet. And he was as tall as that sign and walked into that corn and disappeared.
Hmm.
And we've seen the dogmen around this area as well.
Back in
Like,
2007, I saw what could be a dog man. It was a, I don't want to jump, I'll tell you off air more about it because I don't want to keep talking about it on here, but it's basically, it looked like a black German Shepherd or a black wolf that stood up like a human and walked on 2 legs and then got down and went off on its business. And I don't know of any normal dog that can do that. And I was 15 feet from it, face to face. That's why I do
wow.
the podcast, because I'm very skeptical, but yet that makes you really question
It does.
a
It
lot of
really
things.
does.
But no, I can talk to you more about that here after we're done recording.
Yeah. And I can tell you about what we had too, because I don't like to share locations
Yeah, that's fine.
specifically of that, because if you know where I live, it's easy to find.
Hmm.
But we have them that migrate through here from May and October. We've My son had a juvenile that would follow him. And a couple years before, I was pregnant with his sister. And now that I've said this before, and I look back on it, and he was 4, and there was this big black dog in my mom's neighborhood that would only come around at night. And he was afraid of it. And I still get so mad at him, and he'll be 21 soon. I was like 8 months pregnant with his sister, and he unlocked that front door and took off running. All it was those little street lights out front of the house, like night lights
Yeah.
in the neighborhood. And I'm trying to catch him. And my mom goes, hey, if you don't stop, that big black dog's going to get you. He stopped in his tracks. It was crazy. And now that I think about it, I wonder if my dogman sighting by her house was related to that.
I don't know what to think about dogmen because nothing about them seems to be like evolutionary of why they should be what they are. Obviously,
And
there's been reports throughout history, obviously, like with werewolves, and you had Anubis and all sorts of different depictions of these upright walking canines.
right.
But where did the evolutionary line come? If they're a flesh and blood thing, where did that happen at? Like, where's the missing link? Like I can understand a Sasquatch because it's more of a humanoid, and obviously there was other primates that were like that, so I could see that being an offshoot. But
But
it's hard to come to terms with like a dog man.
and they say there's some are spiritual too, and some come and go out of portals.
Yeah, there's
My
all
son,
sorts of different things when it comes with all these
yeah,
types of creatures.
and what's is it? Coonbo's channel? I don't remember what it's called. I have listened to it, and oh, wasn't there one? I don't know if you listen to him. One that looked like it had mange and like it was bleeding green. Am I
Hmm.
thinking right?
I'll be honest, I don't listen to a whole lot of other podcasts or other channels or anything like
It,
that.
this was years ago, like over 5 years ago. That's why I'm having trouble remembering it. But if I think correctly, they've said it's like a government experiment, and I guess there's a government facility where this one was seen. My son's dad saw one in Fort Wayne, and this is a crazy story. So it goes back to I moved there, I don't know, in the 90s, early 2000s. I lived off of Coldwater and Wallen Road out north, which is just around the DuPont area. So at that time, it was a 2-lane road out there. It's not like it is today at all. And I lived in Wallen Hills, and the next road up from Wallen was Till Road. And when I met Jody, he was telling me about there was a house out there on Wallen Road, and a gentleman was taking his dog for a walk, and his dog just stopped in its tracks. It wouldn't move, and he could see something moving in that house, that abandoned house. Police were called, and the house was demolished in 24 hours.
Pretty
And
quick.
yeah. And I thought, oh my God, I was in my 20s going in and out at 2, 3 in the morning. And that was right down the road from me. And then I've mostly lived up north. And oh, I'm trying to think. My youngest was born in 2015. So it's probably 2014, early 2015. My daughter, I was getting ready to take her to daycare and go to work. I walked out of the house. We had a deck, went down, started to put her in the car. She was in kindergarten at the time. And I look up and I see, and they laugh every time I describe it. You know how a gorilla's butt is really round and it walks on its front paws or
Mm-hmm.
hands, whatever you want to call it?
Mm-hmm.
Above the hood of that car, all I saw was this butt. It was black, and that's all you saw. I saw no ears. I saw nothing else. That's the fastest I've ever got her in that car. And then at night, we were outside, and we heard you could hear like the sirens from the fire trucks and stuff. We heard those, but you could also hear high-pitched howls as well. And then my youngest son's dad was out on, oh, what's that road called? It runs behind Myers off of Lima Road. It goes out towards Carroll High School. But it's one of those housing additions out through there. He was driving along at night, and he looked over, and there was a dog man looking over the fence. Like it was as tall as the fence. It had no problems getting over it. And it saw him and his headlights. It hunched down, turned around, and it disappeared. He said you could not see it. It was snow out, and that dog man was dark, and there was snow on the ground, and he said it just disappeared. He said he wonders it didn't come through a portal.
The dog man stuff and portals, there's been so much stuff lately about it.
Mhm.
And it gets to the point to where it's like are people saying portals now because it became trendy? Because years ago you never heard anything about portals, and now it seems like they've shifted from being flesh and blood things to more interdimensional things that come popping in and out, which I do tend to agree that that could be true because it seems kind of plausible, I guess. I don't know. But I feel like in the last 2 or 3 years, this whole portal thing and it's really taken off.
And it's not just the cryptid field, it's also ghost hunting. Like everywhere seems to have a portal now.
Yeah. And UFOs and UAPs, everything's interdimensional.
Hmm. It's changed a lot since I started.
But I'm not an avid investigator. I don't go out on hunts. I don't do anything like that. I'm just a guy with a microphone that started a podcast 'cause I've seen some crazy stuff years ago.
I get
And
that.
this is my safe way of being an investigator. I don't do any investigating. I do investigating down here in my basement behind my computer screen.
I'm one of the front line. We'll call me that. I
Mhm.
I actually do a whole lot more ghost. Well, I don't like the term ghost hunting.
Yeah.
It's too cheesy and it makes you think of like back when it first started or Zach Bagans and everything. And that's another thing. Everything's demonic now.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother story in itself. But I do more we'll put it this way, haunted locations than I get out in the field. But we've got a spot over around the Wawasee area. One of the gals I investigate with, well, I ghost hunt with, she was driving home and she drives like an Escalade, like the big, huge SUVs, and she lives out by one of the lakes. And her and her husband were driving home. She was driving and she stopped because a wolf was as tall as the hood of that SUV out by her area. And we went out there and investigated. We were bird watching. That's what we were doing. We were bird watching.
I don't know. I don't know what I would actually do if I ever saw something strange again. I don't know if I'd go after it. I say I would, but at the same time, I'm like, I've heard a hell of a lot of horror stories these days of what these things could possibly do, but I want to be the person, just for my own sanity, to figure out what it actually is. I want to know if it's a spirit, flesh and blood. If it rips me apart, then I guess I'll know for 2 seconds. But
Solved.
yeah. Like my own curiosity is I just have to know. Same thing I've said before with Sasquatch. Like if I ever see a Sasquatch, people always have the blurry photos or the shaky. I'm just charging after it. Like I'm not just going to stand there and watch it walk away. I'm going to go chase after it and see what happens.
I'm gonna be like, I'll look at my friend and go, "Did you see that? Are you sure you saw that?" But we'll just look at each other.
Hmm.
Make sure we both saw the same thing on the same page. My our other friend that lives over around Wawasee, she goes out in the woods a lot. Her name's Tamala, and texts me some crazy questions and sent some photos to me. She goes out by herself in the woods and takes walks, and she's seen structures out there. She asked me, she texted me one day and she goes, "What do you think this is?" She goes, "I found 3 deer heads ripped off bodies and stuck on stakes." I said, I'm not sure about that. So I asked other investigators what they thought. And I don't know if it was Sasquatch or if it's dogmen. Either way, she needs to stay out of the woods by herself. I couldn't imagine walking up on that.
Yeah, that would be. I don't go in the woods anyways. I don't think I'd ever go back in the woods again.
Mm-hmm. I don't like snakes, so that's kind of why I don't go out a lot.
Snakes don't really bother me. I don't like bugs.
I'm fine with those. Those spiders, I just don't want to get bit and die.
I don't like
I don't do
spiders.
well with snakes.
I don't like spiders. I don't like praying mantises or big old nasty bugs in general. I don't know what it is. I just never liked them. But praying mantises, they always creep me out because they turn their head and watch you as you walk past them. I was like, they look like little aliens.
They do. My son doesn't like them either. He's afraid of them. My youngest is.
Littler ones are okay. I'll mess around with them. And when they get bigger and they jump on me, I'm pretty much gonna have a heart attack because I'll freak out and start screaming.
He doesn't like grasshoppers either.
Yeah, I don't like those. I don't. They jump on me, I'll knock them off, but they don't freak me out. But like for whatever reason, big old. If it's a smaller spider, it's one thing. But when they get bigger, then I don't like them.
Yeah,
I
my boys, both my boys, they can't stand spiders. It's just neither one of them do. Both of them's afraid of them.
yeah.
Sure, what the one's gonna do if he moves to Arizona with all the bugs and creepy crawlies out there. So I guess he'll learn that real quick.
I think the tarantulas out there is a no go.
That and the scorpions.
Yeah,
Definitely.
those two.
Definitely. I agree. I agree 110%. I couldn't do it. My uncle worked for Jayco. Oh, it's been 25 years ago. And it was one of their downsizing they had. And they got him, they got his youngest son that worked with him. And he went and bought himself an RV repair business. We thought for sure they moved to Florida. And they ended up going to Arizona. And they love it out there. I just couldn't handle all the bugs.
I've been out there a few times. I didn't mind being out there, but it's not any place I'd want to be at for an extended period of time.
That's what my mom says. She said that she has to have green grass. She's because they ask her, they've asked her to come back to visit. And she's like, no, she's like, I'll go visit, but I'm not going to stay long. I have to have my green grass. So
I was out there in August and it was like 117 degrees when we left. And they're like, oh, it's a dry heat. I don't care. It's still hot.
yeah. Yep. I know my cousin's dog can't go outside at a certain temperature. He has, him and his girlfriend have a really nice house, and they have grass, but I know it's not, is it AstroTurf? Maybe they have AstroTurf as grass, but after a certain time of the day when it gets too hot, their dog can't go outside to go to the bathroom or it'll burn its paws.
Yeah, I know it gets super hot out there, especially everyone seemed like they had a swimming pool.
They do.
And then the ground you walk out there and it burns your feet.
Yep. Yeah, they have a pool. They have a nice pool and stuff.
Well, kind of got off topic for the weird stuff.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It changes it up a bit.
Yeah. It's like I said earlier before we got recording, there's no rhyme or reason to how I do the show. It's just open conversation. So,
It works out.
but yeah, back on to the paranormal side, you say you do more of you don't like the term ghost hunting, but you say more paranormal researching.
Yeah, and investigating.
Mm-hmm.
I do more of that. It's kind of hard to get out in the woods because people like Tamala, we live 20 minutes from each other, 30 minutes. but she has young kids. She has a 2-year-old. She feels your pain. And her son, and then she's an older son. So, it's hard to get people together. And some of the other gals, they live down by Indianapolis. And I've done public events and I didn't have anybody come. So we're trying to build the NADP up again. So I'm going to do some conferences this year. I'll be in Chicago at one representing the NADP, and I'm trying to think what else. I have my cryptid conference. So we're trying to build it back up.
When is the cryptid conference supposed to be?
My schedule. June 29th at the North Liberty Community Center.
Awesome. Do you have speakers or vendors or anything like that going to be there? What's the one going?
I am looking for both speakers and vendors.
Well, I might be interested. I'll have to check on the dates, but I'm trying to get on. I'm scheduled for a couple different ones so far this year, so I'm trying to. The crypto one.
That'd be great.
The crypto one's definitely right up my alley because none of the ones I'm on right now are actually cryptid related. They're paranormal and Bigfoot. Well, I guess there is the Bigfoot one, but I haven't been 100% confirmed on that one, so I don't know yet. But I've got some stickers and I've got some other things, and like I said, I've been trying to build up some stuff, so I definitely want to hit up these conventions and conferences and stuff this year.
Yeah, we're going to Pinhurst Paracon. We're accepted as vendors there this year.
Nice.
I'm looking forward to that. And then we're going to the one, I suppose I probably should write it down. It's June 9th. That second week of June, we're going to it's a Chicago Paracon. I'm trying to think what else.
Is there anything you want to talk about from the paranormal side? I know we talked a little bit about cryptids and everything, but we can jump into those paranormal stories.
Would you like a funny story?
Hey, I'm always good for a laugh here and there.
So this is one of our favorite stories. So we went to Eloise Asylum up in Westfield, Michigan, just west of Detroit. And very active place. I'd like to go back. We all would like to go back. And we're walking around. The lady's like, oh, people who go in this room get scratched. Becky walks in, she gets scratched. And she tells us that chair, something always happens to someone around that chair. So maybe me. I sat down and got scratched twice in that chair. We go on to other levels and we're investigating and we're laughing. We had the SB7, the spirit box going, and we're giving Becky a hard time about her new equipment. And they say my name and then they say Becky's, and we were laughing and we heard over the spirit box, ha, 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 clear as day. And it gets later in the night. So one of our last stops was the doctor's ward where the doctors lived at. That was at Eloise. And we walk in there and we flip the spirit box on. None of us had recorders going. We were too stumped to realize we didn't have recorders on. We heard somebody getting busy. Then we turned the other spirit box on. You can hear it on both spirit boxes. And we're just looking at each other like, are you hearing this? Yeah. Do you hear it? We're just making sure. That's the craziest thing that's ever happened to us. So that's my funny story from the paranormal world. But I have some creepy ones too.
So I'm down to listen to some creepy ones too.
We we're involved with Global Ghost Hunt, which is live, and you can go on the YouTube channel and watch this. Collingwood Art Center, one of the most active locations I've ever been at, over in Toledo, Ohio. Used to be a convent. And they used to call their bedrooms cells, which is kind of creepy. And it has a big auditorium with a dome theater. It was a school at one time. The house out front, they lived in that house. And things are supposedly thrown in the basement. There's actually a pentagram painted on the basement floor. And we go upstairs in the house, and you can watch all this start taking place about 20 minutes for our 2-hour video ends. 10, 15, 20 minutes. And I'm doing the Estes method, and you can hear somebody go, Jen, we need you. They pull me out, and my best friend's daughter is sitting there rocking and saying, don't touch me, leave me alone. Nobody's touching her. Nobody's doing anything to her. So we try to get her to go downstairs. No, I'm not going. And her mom's standing about 2 feet away from her. And I'm like, come on, Katie, you go ahead. You go downstairs first. No, I'm not going. They're telling me you're going to push me down the steps. I'm sorry, who's telling you what? You're going to push me down the steps. I said, okay, I'll go first. You can follow me between me and your mom so we know you're okay. And her mom's standing about 2 feet away from her. And am I allowed to cuss on your show?
Yeah, that's fine. I don't.
Okay. So she is losing it. She's like, quit fucking touching me, screaming at us. And her mom goes, Katie, nobody's touching you. I told you to quit screaming at me and quit fucking touching me. Nobody's screaming at her. We're all talking in a normal tone, trying to get her move her happy buns downstairs so we can get her outside to get her grounded. Finally get her to move. And we're down, it's on the second floor and it's wood. And mind you, I'll tell you why I'm going to say this. So we come down to the first floor to go to the basement, which we had to go through to get outside. And Becky, who is my partner in everything we do, I hear her, and I've never heard her do this before. She goes, go, 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 go. And I'm like, what? She said on that wood floor, she heard somebody running up behind her. There was a woman that had got pushed down those steps and died before, like in the past. So she's thinking somebody's running up behind her to push her down those steps. So we get Katie to the first floor, trying to get her to go down to the stairs that goes to the basement. She's like, I'm not going down there. And we're like, come on, we got to get you outside. She goes, no, there's that big black man standing there. And I looked at her. She goes, no, not like a black person. She goes, a big black mass. It's a man. That's a big black mass. I'm
like a shadow figure.
It was like solid to her, like a mass. I guess a shadow figure. But she's like, you don't see him? I'm like, Katie, I don't see anything. I'm like, I need you to go. I need you to get outside. And she was, I don't know how in the world we got her to move, but we got her outside. It took me 2 hours to ground her and pull whatever it was trying to attach to her. I think it was left in the building. But to get her cleansed and grounded took me 2 hours, a ton of sage, a ton of selenite. Her mom gave her my brain died, the black stone. It's like right there. But by morning, that necklace we had wrapped around us, a bracelet had broke. Something was really trying to attach to her that night. That's one of the scariest things. Well, I don't know if it's really scary. Wasn't scary for me. I was just getting irritated because it wouldn't leave her alone. But it was scary for her. And that's one of the craziest things I've had happen. But you can watch that. What our puppy is carrying around. Thank you. Our puppy's carrying around my son's PlayStation headphones with the microphone. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's not gonna happen.
I'm sure
But
that he wouldn't enjoy it being chewed up by a dog.
I don't want to go buy any. That's why I'm like, no, let's not do this. But that's one of the creepier things that's happened. We had the funny one, the creepy one.
Is there
Mm,
anything else that I don't want to keep jumping around back and forth, but you'd mentioned like earlier with Dogman, you said that they
uh-huh.
might kind of migrate through the area or whatever.
Right.
Has there been any way to try and actually like get evidence of that? Has anyone actually went out there and tried to see that for sure?
I can tell you it happens every year around the same time. Because we have stuff that's happened. It happens around the same time every year. I live in the country,
Mm-hmm.
and I can tell you it happens every year around the same time. And they've actually, somebody told me up by Middlebury, they've seen Sasquatch. I'm curious what the Amish have seen, but they won't talk. I
No,
really, I'd really like to know, like, late at night, what they have seen on their farms or even out in their buggies and stuff. I'm
mm-hmm.
really curious.
I've never really thought about that, but that is a good point. Like
Yeah.
with vehicles and everything, it's going to scare animals away because they hear it, they see the lights and everything. But if you're out and about on a horse and buggy, I mean, you're going to hear the footsteps or the clickings, and obviously, if the things have a keen sense of smell, they're going to smell it, but a
Mhm.
little different than a vehicle.
Exactly. And in their farms, have they had stuff come around on their farms? Has any of their animals been slaughtered or taken? I'm really super, super curious, but I don't know any Amish folks that'd be willing to talk to me.
My kids actually go to school with some that are, I don't know if they're 100% Amish because I don't think they'd go to normal school, but they live that type of lifestyle.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know. One of them, they've actually left, I guess, the religion. I don't, I don't know how that works. I don't know anything about the Amish culture or religion or anything like that. So, but maybe I could talk to one of them now that they're not Amish anymore.
Yeah, I know. I know a few people that's no longer Amish that became English. Yeah, I'm really curious what they've seen or what they've experienced. Have they had anything happen? So if there's any Amish people that want to talk to me, they can.
I'm I'm in the mindset that, like, without sounding weird or strange, like I'm in the mindset of if I can figure out where these dogmen are supposed to be at, and everyone's, oh, I'm about to, I'm going to look for it. I've said before, if I
Mhm.
see one walk out in front of me again, I'm just going to run it over.
Okay. Or
Oh,
you'll total your car. One or the other.
well, the thing before that I had, we had to swerve out of the road, so in the middle of the road, and then I was like, next time something comes walking out in front of the road, I'm not going to try and swerve. I'm just going to splatter it.
Oh, jeez.
I was like, then I'll have my proof one way or the other.
That's right. With or without a camera in the car.
You know, I don't care if I have to prove it to the rest of the world. As long as I prove it to myself, then I'll know it wasn't crazy.
Right? Yeah. I
What?
just once in a great while. Oh, I did. We were talking about Sasquatch. I just remembered this. So it was, it's been, I don't know. I was still working at Oakland at the time. So 4 or 5 years ago, I've been at my current job over 2 years. So about 4 years ago, one of the winter storms, we had walked outside and I started my car to get it warmed up and to clean it off. and the lights were shining. I happened to look down, and my daughter looked down, and she's like, "Mom, look at these footprints." And I'd have to dig the pictures up, but they look like actual feet. Like, you know how you walk in water and you'll leave your footprints? It
Hmm.
looked like feet. Like there were tiny feet and then bigger feet just in the snow, and then they just disappeared. I almost ran over them and walked on them. And then one summer, I went outside. It's been a couple times it's happened to me. It's been in the spring usually, but there's like a gift laying on my deck. The one time it was the walnut shells. I think they're walnuts, the green hard things that look like, remind me of tennis balls that you run over, but how they peel back. Those were laying there right on the steps where I would have to walk over it to get down. And then there was a little pile of rocks out there too. So I don't know. I don't know how they got their footprints in the snow. There was no footprints coming or footprints going. It was just footprints in that one spot in front of my SUV, like right where I would see them. It was positioned perfectly, but it looked like somebody had walked in the snow and their feet had melted around the snow. And they were probably a good, I don't know, foot and a half.
About how big do you think they were?
Probably a foot and a half.
Foot and a half?
Yeah. Foot and a half. Yeah.
Because I've seen people recently and they're saying, oh, they found Sasquatch track and they measure them and they're like 13, 14 inches. That seems pretty big. I wear a size 14 shoe, so my
Mm-hmm.
foot is almost that big. And when I see things like people are like, oh, it's like a huge footprint, I was like, I mean, I guess I have a huge foot. I don't know. Like when I think of like a Bigfoot, I'm thinking of like you said, 18 inches to or bigger
Right.
and wider. But I've seen a lot of people lately been putting out photos of footprints that don't look super large. They're like, well, it must be a juvenile. Why would anyone be out walking barefoot in the snow? I don't know, but it's not in the realm of
It's
someone out trying to fake it either. Like, I don't
and
know.
it was just crazy because there was no footprints coming there and there was no footprints leaving. It was just those footprints in that spot in front of my truck, right where when I would turn my lights on to start it, you would see it. Because believe me, we looked. My daughter was looking, my youngest son was looking, I was looking, nothing. It was just that spot. I have pictures. I'd have to dig them up now that I think about it.
I don't
But
know. I don't know how familiar you are with some of these alleged dogman pictures. And with you being a part of the NADP, I know on their website, I'm actually looking at it right now, there was the Ohio dogman allegedly captured on the trail cam.
mhm.
Someone said that's from Dog Soldiers. I've seen it floating around and everything else. They said that's a clip from Dog Soldiers.
Let me see. What?
Yeah, it's like the first things that are on there when you scroll down. It says, it does look very much like the thing from Dog Soldiers is one of my favorite werewolf movies. So when I've seen that, I've seen people posting up in the groups and everything. I was like, this is what irritates me when it comes to
Hmm.
these things because people will steal photos and then try and oh, I took these photos. It's like, well, look what I captured. Well, it's clearly not true. And then it just spreads and everyone else keeps spreading. I was like, that's why it's a discredit to the actual research when people are just spreading up bullshit.
Is it the Ohio dogman allegedly captured on trail cam?
Yep. Said Richard McCandlish. Yeah, those
It,
photos look like from Dog Soldiers, and I've seen people commenting on in these dogman groups when these photos get brought up. that's from dog soldiers.
I think it's shaped differently than what I encountered.
That doesn't look like anything that I saw. To me, I don't know, like the thing that I saw, it didn't have the humanish vibe to it. Like it didn't have hands, it didn't have like humanoid body. Like it looked like a normal canine, but had the ability to stand up and walk on two legs. I don't know how to, like I said, it doesn't make any sense.
The one I saw was from like the side and the back. And I can tell you it was almost to the roof of my mom's neighbor's house. Puppers, come here. She's getting anxious for my daughter to get home. I guess I'm bothering her now. But she's getting her zoomies on too. But it was almost to the gutter on the neighbor across the street's house. It was almost that high. And the shoulders were probably, oh my God, I don't know. The thing was huge. And I could see the long arms, and you could see like the long claws or nails on it. I'm going to freak myself out talking about this. I got to take her out to potty. Look at me.
Well, we could probably wrap this up if you're good with that. If there's anything else you want to talk about, we can always try and do another episode.
My daughter's not home yet. And I'm like, I'm talking about this stuff. And well, the reason I say that is because about the time we saw ours, my son and I did, we had come home and it was in October. And we had seen it on and off from May through the summer. And in October, I had come home to drop groceries off before I took them over to my mom's to visit. And I have security lights. And my oldest goes, well, you know, Mom, it's probably the dogmen. I was like, oh my God, Caden, that's what I was thinking. So brought the groceries and everything was good. Went over to my mom's for a little bit. We came home and I have a metal roof. And we get out, security lights on, back porch lights on. I can't see up above me. But you know how a nail will hit something metallic and make that tink, tink
Yep.
noise?
Yep.
Tell me why I heard 3 distinct tink, tink, tink when I was trying to get in the house. My daughter says, Mom, somebody just said something. I said, what did they say? She goes, I don't know, but they're trying to talk to us. Let's get in the house. That's why I'm like, I'm freaking myself out. I think Ariana can take the dog out when she gets home.
They the tinking, I have a metal roof too. It does sound like someone would be tapping on it if you can hear that tink, tink, tink.
Yep. And she says that there's sometimes at night that she can hear stuff running above her on the roof. And there's nothing over the house. There's no trees or anything. And I remember one night, and I don't think it was a dream, but like, you know, when you have mice inside your walls and they make that really loud scratching noise?
Yeah.
It was so loud like that it woke me up. Like something was climbing up the walls or was running on the roof. It woke me up.
We get out in our garage, we get random mice, and we have attached garage, and to come down into the basement is literally right by the garage, and it's where the stairwell comes down into. And for some reason, I think they get in the wall and they die, because every once in a while we'll get like a dead animal smell. I can never find it. It always smells like it's in the wall, but it's brick, so I can't get to it because I'm not gonna tear down the cinder blocks to find it.
Right. Yeah, they do. They get inside the walls and they'll die in there. We've had that happen too.
Good old rodents for you.
I know, right? But yeah, that's my craziness. If you go on you can listen to, I gotta find it. Report citing evidence, I believe. Oh, the audio. Some of those sound crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And out by the airport. Who's got the zoomies? She's silly.
Yeah, she's probably ready to go out. My
Yeah,
dog,
she
my dog
just
likes to go out and bark and then jump into the window as soon as she gets out. Like we have a sliding door and she slams into it.
yeah, she's only about 4 months old.
Yeah,
She's a baby.
we have an all white German Shepherd that's 3 years old and she weighs like 70 something, almost 80 pounds. And once she's done, she just jumps into the sliding glass. I'm like, one of these days you're going to go through the glass.
Yeah, she's gonna be big. She is part poodle and part Burmese mountain dog. She's a Bernedoodle.
Okay. Yeah, she'll be a huge dog.
Yeah, she looks like those little goats right now, like how they had the baby goats videos where they jump around and they look really cute. She tends to jump and her paws look like theirs with the fluffy on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so she looks like a little baby goat jumping around. It's cute. I should do a TikTok on her and make her TikTok famous.
Well, from what I saw, they're banning TikTok, so I don't know how that's supposed to happen anymore, but
I heard that too. I heard they're getting rid of it.
completely off topic, but anyone that's ever listened to my episodes know how I feel about the government and how I think it's worthless. They can't agree on anything, but they can come together and agree that we don't need TikTok, which I don't care because I don't use TikTok anyways, but
I do to promote my events.
I made one. I put one video on it for the podcast and it had like 5 views. And I was like, okay, this is stupid. And I never used it again.
Actually, I watch some live investigations on there. There's a team called Blue Collar Paranormal, and they run like they manage 5 or 6 haunted locations, and every night they're at one of those locations. And I've actually have 3 of them booked for this year. So I'm like, what am I getting into when I go there? And the one place I'm really looking forward to, it was a brothel at one time, it was a funeral home, and it was a private home. And then it was a senior living place, like a nursing home. So
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to going there. So,
Well, is there anything else you would like to discuss, or do you think you're ready to about wrap this one up?
can I promo my events coming up? My
Yes.
conference real
Yeah,
quick?
whatever it is you would like to promote, go right ahead.
So on next weekend, we're going to have the Women of the Paranormal celebration, which is open to everyone. That will be at Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary on the 23rd is where we're going to investigate. Old Historic Harriman Hospital on the 24th is our investigation. We will have a conference on Saturday and Sunday at Temperance Hall in Harriman, Tennessee. Saturday, we'll have all kinds of topics, panels, and from women all over. We have some gals coming in from Colorado. On Sunday, we'll have Psychic and Metaphysical Sunday. And Catherine Cyrillos from Greece will be doing a virtual event or doing a virtual gallery reading. We still have tickets for that. Then you may be interested in this one. On April 27th, I will have the Lake Erie Parafest over in Sandusky, Ohio. And we have men and women both. It'll be at the Merry-Go-Round Museum. We're going to hold the conference there during the day, take a nice dinner break, come back and investigate. We're going to have family investigations for 10 years of age up to 17 with a parent for an hour and a half. So you can bring your kids out and investigate with them. And then from 9:30 to 2 a.m., it's 18 and over. And then what else do I have? Those are for domestic violence and sexual assault victims and their families. And then we have the Men, and this one you might be interested in, Men of the Paranormal Convention will be at Ashmore Estates in Ashmore, Illinois. That's a fundraiser for domestic violence and sexual assault victims and their families, because it doesn't just happen to women. It can happen to men too. I know some guys it's happened to. And we'll be investigating Ashmore Estates too. And we still need vendors, speakers, lead investigators for that. And that's all my fun stuff, plus the Michiana CryptidCon we talked about earlier on June 29th in North Liberty.
I said some of the stuff you'd mentioned, by the time this airs, it'll already be over with.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The stuff in the beginning, like this probably won't come out until sometime in May.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We always have 2025.
No, I have even with releasing 2 episodes a week, I've got like 14 or 15 episodes already recorded ahead. So I record 2 or 3 episodes a week.
I am going to have in Sandusky on think October 5th. There it is. We're going to have the Lake Erie Hallowfest, like Halloween Hallowfest.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure where the convention will be held yet, or the conference, but I just talked to a place that's about 30 minutes away. I'm not sure how to say it. It's Bile or Beal Manor. It's Bihl. And they just agreed we can do a public investigation there after our conference, and we can do trick or treat for the kids. We always like to do something in October.
Yeah.
Or events to help the kids let the kids have fun, come out and see what we do, and let them trick or treat and check out a haunted location.
No, I think it's great to have everyone involved. So, but yeah, for anyone listening, I will include you can send it to me in an email, and I will include all of the information in the show notes. So for anyone that's interested, then go into the show notes for the show, and they can get all of the dates and locations and everything for those events.
Alrighty.
And if anyone wants to reach out to you, I'll include your website and stuff too.
Oh, I appreciate that. We're on Facebook, TikTok, if it's still alive, Instagram. I figure we need to do all the socials so people know where to find us and what we're about and everything. So we're pretty busy this year. I think I booked 20 locations so far, and we're gonna add a few more. We got several conferences too. Global Ghost Hunt.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like you got a lot going on. I think we're going to go ahead now and head on out. So again, check out the show notes. You can keep up with what Jennifer's got going on. But thanks for listening. Thanks for Jennifer coming out here and talking with me. Good night, everyone. Remember, the truth lies in the stories we share, the connections we make. Stay curious, stay open-minded. Thank you all for joining us on this journey, and until next time, keep questioning, keep seeking, and keep exploring the unknown. Good night, everyone.